welcome everybody to the podcast. Today, special guest, probably the hardest one we've had to get scheduled here. Back and forth a lot, but we're happy we got a little bit of time here, so we're going to try to blast through. This is Jay, owner-operator of Force Fitness in Fairfield, and I'm sure he could talk a little bit more about what he does, but we're going to dive in. He's got a very interesting backstory, kind of how he got into the fitness industry, and a little bit of backstory for me is Jay was the gym that I got to work out during COVID and kind of helped us get through that. And then, recently training for a marathon, there was a few parts of my workout that I was struggling with, and Jay was able to help me there too. So definitely excited to have him on. There's a lot of back knowledge and has an interesting kind of view into the fitness side and coaching and getting individuals back in shape. So, Jay, thanks for joining.
Yeah, of course. Thank you guys for having me.
So what do you how would you describe kind of what you do and why do you do it?
So it's a little different than your normal gym. I've kind of went through, you could say, hell and back. I was paralyzed from the waist down, so I had to kind of relearn like walking, had to relearn how to use my body all over again. So I've done all styles of fighting, all kinds of sports, and I've just kind of put it all together. And I've learned from so many different
You guys
pros.
do like a boxing day at the gym, like I always see.
So we do a little bit of mixture of everything. So I like to implement boxing in almost everything, but majority of my stuff is a more higher intense, like boxing cardio, you could call it.
So, and feel free to talk as much as you want about it, but like I know you and I have talked. You got into an accident. How long ago was that?
My accident was right out of high school. So
you're 17, 18 years old?
Yeah, 17, 18, 19 years old, around that range.
You were kind of into fitness before that? Were you into sports?
I actually had just started boxing, maybe 6 months before my car accident. And even before that, I've been doing sports my whole entire life since I was a kid. Football, baseball, basketball, wrestling. And then I just got into boxing, and then the car accident happened.
Yeah. And I guess a pretty bad car accident, ended up getting paralyzed, and what was the outlook at that time?
It was fairly for a brief time. I was paralyzed. It was kind of
just
my body
all
went
the
into a complete shock. Yeah, my body went into a shock, and then my whole lower body gave out on me, and I was supposed to get helicopter evac to the hospital, but then it was just bad weather, so we just had to take the ambulance. But it was a weird time. I mean, it was just like your whole life gone. You know what I mean? It's almost feel like you got a second chance in life, and it's.
So then, how do you go from that to getting into fitness, right? Was that your entrance into fitness because you rehabbed yourself?
It was because I started to notice when I went to physical therapy, I went to doctors, it was kind of the most all repetitive, take drugs, take this, and do the same PT, nothing really happens with it. So I've just started deep diving into a lot more in depth of how to strengthen up the lower back, how to strengthen up your legs, how to strengthen up your cores. And then from there, I got a management job at LA Fitness, and I just kind of got to learn more of the sales process behind everything before I started my own company. And then once I felt comfortable enough after a year, and then I was just I'm going to do it. Yeah. And then pulled the trigger and started Force Fitness.
Were you always in Fairfield there?
No, I started up in Parsippany, based out of a training studio, and for about a year. And then I had the opportunity to work with a guy in Fairfield for 3 years, and then I just branched off on my own after that.
That's cool. No, yeah. I know, just being in, because it's kind of by the office, that's how I know you, and we met. But it was interesting. I think your programming style around kind of how you program the workouts and who's I always leave sore. I've had a good workout, right? And I mean, I've seen the way that you will push certain people and kind of take more of that coaching aspect than.
You could call it more of an old school mentality is the way I coach. I mean, I am fairly aggressive with my coaching. I like to the way I do is, I guess for me, it's I take people's goals very serious, and then I guess too serious, because like when you come into my gym at the end of the day, it's like you're a representation of me, and I don't want you to leave not satisfied with the results. So when I see you not doing the workouts to your full potential, then you see a different side of me that you don't want to see, and that's just, I guess some people like it, some people don't like it.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to like push myself, right? So
Yeah.
like you and I, like we just kind of
Yeah,
vibe,
you
get
have like
through
that
it.
fitness mentality.
Yeah.
It's like almost like you know how it goes, but
But-
a lot of people, especially like nowadays, it's not what it used to be. A lot more people have just gotten a little bit more like they want a nice trainer. They want somebody who could just
Yeah.
hold their hand through the workouts. I mean, I'm not that type of trainer. I try to be sometimes, but
I think a lot of people need that. I mean, I think that's important. I mean, I don't know. I think back to like wrestling coaches and
Yeah.
like those. I was like the most fit I've ever been, and like you come back year after year and you continue to do it, but you kind of get your ass beat the whole time, right?
yeah.
And there's an aspect to as we grow older that we lose that, right? It's like everybody just wants this comfort in life.
Yeah, I mean, I think as you get older, you get introduced to a lot more,
Yeah.
like going out, the drinking, the smoking,
Yeah.
and then relationships, and then a lot of people just tend to get comfortable with their lifestyle, and then they almost put like fitness in the back burner, which is a little upsetting because at the end of the day, it's like your health is what matters, and I mean, it's like what you said before: take Ozempic. Not the way to go, but it's an easy route for people, and I don't think it's a good route. Just considering you're not healthy. You're just losing weight
Yeah.
in a very unhealthy manner.
Yeah, I listen. I'm in no way a doctor. I just looking around and seeing how many people. I think working out and being in some sort of fitness regimen should definitely be a part of the requirement
Yeah.
to get on
Yeah.
some sort of weight loss medication.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't look. I look at it positively from the sense of like some people like getting that help, keeping them motivated, right? Because they see weight coming off, they're working out, they're doing like it could help with that, just keeping them motivated, right? Because the
yeah.
process does.
But you
suck.
have to take it in a way where you're still doing your fitness
100%.
regimen.
If you're
and
not
keeping it going.
if you're just sitting on the couch and losing
Yeah.
weight, you're gonna wither away,
Yeah,
right?
it's
You're not losing weight, you're
not the
withering
right,
away.
Exactly, it's not the right way to do it, and that's
But
what
if-
a lot of people do.
Yeah, if you're working out hard, you're doing your thing, and you're just getting a little help from something, I'm okay with it then, right? Like
yeah,
then it
yeah. I mean, that's all.
that adds up
Exactly.
to me.
If you use it in the right way, by all means. It's
But
like
it's
when
just
people
not-
take steroids, but then it's like they depend on the steroids.
Right.
Not the way to go.
Yeah.
Like if you take steroids in a modification where you're doing it with your lifting properly, and then you're not just overdoing it just
Yeah.
because you're just want to
Well,
keep
there's a
getting.
difference between like abusing it and doing TRT or something like
Yeah,
that, right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you know, I don't think anybody should ever abuse it, right? If you're a
No.
bodybuilder and that's your thing and that's your job and you don't give a shit, like go ahead, right?
Yeah.
Like everybody does their own. But if, you know, just somebody that's, you know, middle-aged guy like myself, I'm on it, but like TRT and just helping you, like I'm down with it, right? Like
Yeah.
there's certain things that
But again, you take it in modifications.
yeah,
You
right?
don't
But
just start pumping it into you.
no, and by the way, like I think for me, it was a search for a cause because, you know, I've always worked out. I've always worked out hard. I've always pushed myself. I've done all like, and I just start, you know, as you get older, I'm 38 now, but like your body just can't keep up.
Yeah.
And it was a pretty drastic change for me, like from like my early 30s to my mid 30s was like, what the fuck is going on?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like I was like literally couldn't. I would go to your gym, work out, and be sore for like a week. Like literally, like I can't like sit from jumping over a bench for you know what I mean? Like like,
simple things.
yeah, like weird things that like I would used to be able to do every day with no problem. You know, be sore from it because you worked out, but like
Yeah.
in a couple days you recovered. I'd be like a week and a half.
Yeah.
Bad, like just not recovering, and like something's wrong at that point, right?
Yeah.
And our lifestyles, our food. You know, I sit in a desk all day.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
That shit
And that's
crushes
and
you.
that's what crushes a lot of people now that they got older is like they have desk jobs.
Yeah.
Like I mean, I'm fortunate enough to be walking around and up
Yeah,
all
yeah.
day, so it's for me it's a lot different. But for most people, they sit all day, and then
Yeah.
you start seeing the lower back problems, the knee problems, the hip problems. Their posture is rounded, and it's
So when like somebody comes to new clients or whatever, what's the kind of approach with them from your standpoint? I know you do your group classes, but
Yeah.
you probably do like a good amount of one-on-ones too, right?
Yeah, so one-on-ones is majority of my clientele at the moment. Classes, a lot of people kind of just like him just because
Yeah.
it's like a higher intense. It's just kind of like an addition to the one-on-ones. But for new people, when they come in, I like to give them like a week or two of evaluation when they do come in and sign up. I like to see like how they do the workouts. Like I'll correct their posture and their routine and like the way they're doing the workouts. It's just I don't like to kind of perfect it. Like,
Yeah.
oh, you're doing this wrong. Let's do it this way. Because then at the end of the day, it's like they're not understanding why they're doing it wrong. So, and I've seen a lot of trainers in the past that have worked for me, or when I used to work at a gym and I see other trainers, and it's they try to correct them right off the spot. And some people
Yeah.
have no idea what they're correcting. So, like, you're telling them what to do, but they're never going to do it in the long term. They're just going to do it in that one moment and then it's gone. So for me, it's like I like the people to start to notice what they're doing. So like I give them like a week, and then by the second week you're in with me, your form is completely different because now you're understanding why I'm telling you to
Yeah.
retract back your shoulders or keep your chest up or pressure on the heels, pressure on the toes, whatever it may be. But I like to implement a lot of like balance work with the Bosu ball.
Yeah.
And I think it helps a lot of people figure out their bodies and figure out their core and balance, like on how to do all the workouts.
Yeah, I mean, we did a lot of that together, you and I, and like that.
I mean, that's huge.
That
It's
stuff's huge for me.
Yeah.
Like that's the one thing that I can't seem to get by myself.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's
Like-
not easy because a lot of people don't like to go through the steps of it.
Yeah, and it's like trying to look at yourself and see where you're messing up your form. Like that's really
Yeah,
difficult,
it's hard.
right?
Yeah.
But like one that's definitely an area where I see trainers mess up right out of the gate is like they
Yeah.
take people that have very little fitness experience at all
Mm-hmm.
and crush them.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, they try, and then they also try to perfect their form when their
Yeah.
body's not used to that form. So then, like, you actually create more problems.
Yeah.
Because they're trying so hard to keep that perfect form. So, like, believe it or not, if you're sitting there, you're retracting back your shoulders like this doing a workout, you could pinch something really
Yeah.
badly, especially with somebody that has no idea what they're really doing. So that's
Yeah.
why, like, it's always good when, like, you give them a week of, like, getting back into it. You just kind of analyze them every day that they're in there, see what they're doing wrong, what they're not doing wrong. Obviously, if it's something dramatic, you want to fix it on the spot.
Yeah.
But if it's nothing that crazy, then you kind of just let them. I personally like to let them go through it and just have a better feel for what the workouts are, and then you slowly start implementing the corrections.
Do you have a good feeling for like what clients are going to come in and be like
Serious or not?
serious or not?
Yeah.
Like when they
Yeah, for the most part, yeah. Like there's certain clients that come in and I'm like, they want to sign up for like 100 sessions. I'm like, nah.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, great. I mean, that's a couple $1,000s for me, but
yeah.
I'm like, I don't want to deal with the backlash of it when you don't want to take it serious.
Right.
Like you may be hyped up in the moment right now, but that's why I always tell people start off small.
Yeah.
5-10 sessions and build it up from there. You feel comfortable after 10 sessions, then you buy more, but never commit to that extent. And a lot of trainers will take it and they'll deal with the headache behind it. I just can't do that.
Yeah.
It's too much.
It's also
Yeah, there's a lot of people that come in, you can see it in their faces. Like they want to do good, they want to do it, but
it's hard.
it's hard to keep up with it.
Yeah.
And it's also hard for the diet perspective.
Yeah.
The diet is what kills most people because then they
Well-
don't see the results and they get insecure.
And because they just started working out, so they're starving all the time,
Yeah,
right? Like
and that's not the way to go either.
yeah, like you're
Like a
when
lot of people think dieting is just stop eating. Like
Yeah.
that's not dieting.
No.
You
It's
have to just
eating
eat clean, and the best diet is actually like 7 to 8 meals a day.
Yeah.
It's just portion control, your little snacks of like almonds in between, and
I don't know.
all that kind
I know
of
when
things.
when I work out, like if I have like a heavy workout week, like I'm just starving all the time, and like
yeah.
I'm
Well, your
because
body is using
Yeah,
the foods.
you're
and
using
you're
a
gonna
lot
want
of
to eat
it.
more because your body just needs it. But it's just
but you're also trying to like get the benefit
Yeah.
because you could out eat working
yeah,
out
and
very
that's why
easily.
I'm a huge fan of intermittent fasting.
Yeah.
Because then that I think is
that
the
helps
best.
control it.
That helps with control, and you can kind of eat more.
Yeah, I mean, there's I keep reading like all different like positives and negatives of
Mm-hmm.
it, right? But the one thing that for me, like I tried it for a long time, I can't get my protein intake high enough
Yeah.
when I do it because my eating window so has to be
Yeah.
is reasonably
Yeah.
small. But
I always suggest protein shakes when you do stuff
yeah,
like that.
you have to,
Yeah,
right?
because you have to do protein shakes like even throughout your day, like
Yeah.
2 of them, 3 of them. If
Yeah. You got to keep
you
it
have
up.
a smaller window, you have to kind of just force yourself to eat more.
You have to get the protein. I mean, I think
Yeah.
that's always my thing is like try to get the protein intake up, but it's tough because you're like trying to shrink the window. You're trying to watch your calories. You're
Mhm.
trying to, but like I said, I actually say it all the time is like you can out eat any workout you want. Like it's
Yeah.
not that hard.
No, it's
like
not.
there's
It's not at all.
you see a lot of like runners that are way overweight, right? Or
Mhm.
just like not in good shape. It's because they eat garbage and they eat too much, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
No, absolutely.
no, that's cool. Like I know at the gym, like especially for some of the classes that when you're running them, like you're pushing people pretty hard.
Mhm.
And do you think you can tell like who could take that, who can't? Like
You can.
yeah,
I like to give everybody the benefit of the doubt.
yeah,
But you could kind of start to see who can keep up, who can't keep up. And then the people who can't keep up, I try to do the best I can to like modify and slow things down. But I also don't like to slow down the class.
yeah,
And then you have to also put in like perspective, can they afford one-on-one training? Can they not afford one-on-one training? It's like, do they have the desire to do it even if they can't afford it? But yeah, you can see who's in it, who's not in it, who wants to give. Like, what I noticed the most is like I see people who think that they're giving their all, but they're not.
yeah,
And they're just very like it's almost like they're forcing themselves to come.
yeah.
And it's like it's like upsetting.
That's
It crushes me.
Yeah,
It's not like I find it disrespectful, but I find it like almost like I don't know. I guess I come from a mindset where like I know the feeling of like losing my lower, not being able to use my legs and like going through that depression mode.
Yeah.
So like when I see people like that have it all, like, and by all I mean your arms, your legs, everything, like the little things that we take advantage of, it's almost heartbreaking because it's just like you don't really realize what you have till it's gone.
Yeah.
And that's what gets somebody, and like it gets into your head sometimes.
Yeah, I think people who like let their bodies go to a point, right? And then they're like, oh crap, I got to try to get this under control. But they don't understand what it takes to do that now that it's that far gone.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Or that I mean, I go through, so I do this thing every so often where I'll do a year and I'll put on a crazy amount of weight. And I like to see how it feels to go back into that. Cause I've always had abs. Like I've always had abs. Like I've always trained hard. Like I've always had that mindset. So I go through like little periodic times where I'll do a full year and I'll just eat unhealthy and just gain 30, 40 pounds. And then I want to feel how it feels to kind of get back in there. Because at the end of the day, it's like I can never understand somebody who comes up to me and tells me that they can't get to where they want to get because they don't have that mental strength. I need to know how it feels at the end of the day. Like how hard is it for somebody who's 200 plus pounds to go back down to 165, 150? Like to lose 40, 50 pounds, it's a lot. It's hard.
You know, I mean, food is a problem.
That's
nowadays.
The biggest problem.
Food's a big problem.
That's like the biggest problem we have right
now.
But
I mean, I know for myself, like I'm definitely, I lift pretty heavy typically, but like I haven't, even with running, doing the marathon thing and like trying to, like, I haven't lost, like I lost like 5 pounds, right? Like, and I was training
and you're
pretty
running hard. You're running like 20 miles a day.
We were running, I was probably averaging about like 45 miles a week.
Yeah.
For a while.
Yeah.
So like I was putting some miles on, but I was always hungry, right?
Yeah.
But I was like trying to eat clean and like I was definitely but I was still lifting in between, like, just because I wanted to keep muscle mass on, and I didn't want to just turn into like the runner's, typical runner body.
Yeah.
But it was hard because I was like, you know what, this would be great. I'm gonna lose some weight. You know, I'm gonna be running a lot, and like that'll be the biggest thing. Like I wanted to run at like 185.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I was like, I started somewhere like 210. I was like, you know what, I think if for 4 months, if I run it, I eat right, I should run around 185.
Yeah, easily.
I'll feel nice and light.
Yeah.
Right. But like between lifting and like I saw my body fat coming down. Right. But I was putting on weight still.
Yeah.
Like,
But you were putting on more muscle mass.
I was putting on more muscle mass. Right.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like I should have lost another 10, 12 pounds, like pretty easily.
Mm-hmm.
It was hard. Like it was like,
yeah, I mean, for me,
very
it's like,
deliberate.
there's many tricks that you can do, and it's like taking magnesium,
Yeah.
taking fiber. You have to have something that's going to shrink your stomach while you're doing this.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's hard because now you're putting something in your body that is going to flush you out.
Yeah.
And you're going to be using the bathroom a lot, and a lot of people don't like that. A lot of people are always on the go.
I was always scared of that when I was running.
Yeah.
I was like, you know, because like,
No, it's not something that's like,
you know, all the magnesium supplements are like, oh, take
Yeah.
this before bed, right? Because then you know you wake up and you're gonna like flush yourself out,
Yeah.
you know. And but I would get up at 5:30, 6 o'clock to go running, and I was like, there's no like you know, what are you gonna do? Like,
yeah, once you're
it's not-
there,
it's
once
a
you're
bad-
out there,
it's a
that's
bad
it.
idea.
Yeah.
You know, but I don't know. I've always like struggled a little bit with like supplements.
Mhm.
I'm never consistent about it.
Yeah.
Like, and you have to be, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, if you're gonna take like a supplement like along those lines,
Yeah.
then you want to be as consistent
As
as possible.
consistent as possible.
Yeah. I mean,
Like, even
I get
protein,
it if you
man.
miss like a day or two,
Yeah.
but like you're not gonna get the full effect of the actual supplement if you're not consistent with it.
Yeah. Even protein. I'm
Personally, not a fan.
not a fan.
I can't stand it. I
Like-
feel like you should get your natural proteins, like your chickens, your fish, your steak, however you want to take your proteins.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of protein shakes. Like unless you're using it as like an additional thing, I get it.
Yeah.
But-
I've always just like, I don't know, I have a sensitive stomach to that stuff.
Yeah.
And protein makes me sick. Like no matter what I've tried 40 different types. I've tried the clear stuff. I've tried it. I just can't get
Yeah.
like my mind around it
Yeah,
or
no,
like my
it's
body
not-
to keep up
It's
with
not
it.
it's not for everybody.
I just know that like if I'm low, like if I didn't eat well one day or like I didn't get enough protein one day, I'll have a couple protein shakes towards the end of the day.
Yeah.
But it's tough. What's the goals for the gym? Anything coming up?
Honestly, they change
Yeah.
very often. There's times where I just want to keep it going and try to build more and do more. I don't see myself opening up another location. I more so would probably want to downsize and focus more on other activities like the horses. I think that's more so where my passion has been now.
Yeah.
I just can't let go of the gym.
Yeah. Where did the horse thing come from?
Oh man. So I just so it's funny.
So it's Zeus
So-
and Sinatra.
So I
Or-
have Zeus, who's my 7-year-old gelding now, and then I have Sinatra, who's my 4-year-old stallion. So one day somebody told me, "Oh, go watch the show Peaky Blinders. You'll love it." I watched the first episode, and after the first episode, I was like, "Wow, it must be nice to be riding a horse." Like, let me go try it. Went to a local barn, tried it out, loved it. Kept buying 10 sessions. I got good at it very fast. 6 months in, I went to the farm where I'm at now, and my intention was to never buy a young horse because I've only been riding for 6 months. Like, how can you have a 6-month rider get on a 2-year-old horse that has never been sat on before ever in its life? So my intentions were always to buy like a horse that was already made, been there, done that, just for me to learn and develop myself. But it's like me and this horse like instantly fell in love. Like he ran up.
Zeus was your first horse.
Zeus
right?
was my first horse. He's
He's a
ran
beautiful
right
horse,
up to
yeah.
me. Yeah, oh my God, he's gorgeous. Ran right up to me, and I was like, this is the one. It was between him and his sister, his older sister. But his sister's a lot smaller, and I have long legs, so I was like, I need something a little bit bigger. So I went with him, and honestly, one of the best decisions I've ever made, but one of the worst decisions I've ever made.
It's a disease.
It's costly. It's time consuming.
So what's your plan with the horses? Like what? So
Zeus, I'm just gonna be
Zeus you
developing.
ride, right?
Yeah, so Zeus, I ride both of them. Sinatra's plan is kind of like my future plan. That's kind of just gonna be my life, pretty much, is the breeding. So he's still a stallion. So my goal with him is to develop him, try to get like a lot of exposure for him, and then try to get like professional riders on him and develop him to the higher levels in the jumping world, and then sell his semen.
Yeah,
because the bloodlines is what people look for in horses. So I mean, he has like some of the top like bloodlines in the world in him. So it just makes sense to keep him a stallion. He has a very calm mindset. So my goal is for him is just to kind of get him out there into breeding, get some babies on the ground for him in the next couple of years, and just see how they develop and who they, I guess, like are compatible with other like horses, like different breeds or different bloodlines, and see what kind of matches.
It's a crazy world, the horse world.
Yeah, it's a world that never ends. There's so much behind all of it, and I'm learning every day.
They're a lot of work, right?
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
So what's the difference between like you look at horses and you're like, oh, boy horse, girl horse, like they have like temperament differences and like
yeah. So geldings are like dumbed out. So like you mean they're pretty much their balls are cut and they're just calm. I mean that's like your go-to.
Yeah.
Mares. People are going to give me a lot of backlash for this, but it's like your typical female on her period, man. It's like mares are like, they could either love you or they'll hate you every time you're near them. It's mares are for a specific type of people.
Yeah.
And then stallions are just, your average male. They're just, for them, they just want to fuck every horse they see.
I see your videos, and I'm like, I see the horses, and like, I see some videos of Sinatra, and he's grown up a lot since you got him. Like you got him, it's like
he was the first baby I saw born on that farm.
Really?
And I rode his mom at one point, and then I just kind of like, my heart felt for her. Like she was a lot older, but like when you ride her and like, she'll give you everything she has. And I'm like, she just like grew on me, and I always just took care of her. Even like she had like lost her teeth. So then you have to like water her food, and she's out and like, we're on a 130 something acre farm, and I had to walk like 100 acres just to give her food. You know what I mean? It was just like, she grew on me. So kind of right then and there, just knew that he was going to be my horse. So, and then he grew on me, but
that horse world is very wild to me. Like I just don't like. I mean, it's so much bigger than you think it is, right? Like from the outside, looking in,
you look at it from the outside, you just see like, oh, every horse is the same.
Yeah,
but you have quarter horses, which is more Western. You have like warm bloods, and the warm bloods are like, God, it goes endless. Like you have Holsteiners, you have Zangershires, you have Olenbergs, you have like so many different types, and like every type of horse has like a specific, it's not specific. Like any horse essentially could do the job, but like some horses are bred just to jump. Some horses are bred just to do dressage. Some horses are bred just to do eventing and cross country, and like every horse kind of has its job, and they'll tell you at the end of the day. Like, I mean, my horses are bred to jump, but if they don't want to jump,
they don't jump.
They're not going to jump, and they'll tell you. And then
you don't expect them to have like a personality, right? But they do, right? Like, I mean, you told me that they have like pretty, because we've talked to them like.
Yeah, so they kind of grow towards like their owners. So like every horse has a personality at the end of the day, but like it's like kind of how you treat them and how you bring them up is how their mentality will be. Like, I mean,
crazy to me.
Yeah, like Zeus is like a goofball. Like he'll love to mess with people. Like he'll like nip at you, but he won't try to bite you. Like he knows it like hurts you to bite, but he'll like nip at you just to be annoying. And he gets it from me. Like, I mean, I can be annoying. Like I like to mess with people a lot, and like, I mean, I like to mess with him a lot, and he sees it and he thinks it's a joke, because then like there's no consequence behind like me and him joking around. So like he takes it as a joke, and he just like they process it through their minds like, oh, okay, we could do this. I can get away with this.
Yeah.
So he thinks it's funny, and like they feel you, and that's what's crazy about horses is like they feel your heartbeat. They feel if you're afraid, they'll know.
You know, obviously, like with the dog stuff that I like, you know, everybody always talks about that. Like, you know, it's at the, you know, your emotions go through the leash, right?
Yeah.
I'm guessing most animals have that intuition,
Yeah,
right?
and now you're on top of
and you're
these
on
horses.
top of it, and
so like now you're riding them. So think about it. It's funny because I said this to somebody the other day. They're like, it's like Avatar. I'm like, it's exactly like that. It's like when you sit on them, you linking in with them, and that's it. You guys are one. If you're not one, it's not going to end pretty, and it's going to be a 90% chance you're the one that's going to fall. And yeah, you're going to lose that battle because this is like a 1,600 pound animal that he wants you off, he'll take you off.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah,
I mean, I have such little exposure to them, but like just watching it, I mean, like I said, I see your horses on Instagram all the time, and they're beautiful.
Yeah,
and you're just like, you know, but at the same time, it's got to be hard to just kind of corral that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody should eventually get into horses one way or another.
Yeah.
Because I think it teaches you a lot, and it teaches you to appreciate like nature and life. Because when you start to deal with a horse, you grow patience. Like I had very little patience before I got into horses. Like I could not deal with people at all. But when you deal with like an animal that you're trying to teach, and you're trying to teach them, but they can't understand you, so you have to teach them with body language, and you have to have the patience, and you have to have like almost like a repetitive consistency type of like motions with them. And it kind of developed me as a person to train my clients a different way as well, like in the gym. Because now I have a little bit more patience and a little bit more understanding, and I have like a little bit more of almost like an affection, like
some empathy.
Yeah, so kind of like, okay, like it's like my horse. Like I have to take it very slow. I have to be more consistent with them for them to understand it. So it's like you're not going to get a squat down right off the bat if you've never squatted before. So it's just like you can't just expect them to do the full squat the correct way.
Break it down in pieces.
So you have to kind of break it down in pieces. Like if they mess up, it's okay, but don't let them keep messing up. So it's just about how you correct them. And the same thing comes in like with the horse world. It's like if Sinatra, stallions are known for biting. So it's just like, when they bite, you have to correct them. So after a while, they get it that biting is not a good thing. Yeah. And I can't expect him, like when he bites me for the first time,
to know that.
To know that. He thinks he's playing around, like it's in his nature just to bite, because that's what stallions do. They're very like nippy, and they want to like kind of assert authority, and they want to, that's what just in their nature is to bite. I mean, think about it. You have so much testosterone, you can't let it out. Like, what else are you going to do?
They need a place to go.
Yeah, exactly.
So I know we're a little tight on time today, but given New Year's coming up, you have a lot of people start, hey, I want to get back in shape. I want to start fitness. And I think there's a lot of talk right now around really like fitness and health and looking at all. But if you were going to give our like listeners that one kind of, hey, this is where you should start. This is what your mindset should be. It's not like, oh, just because it's New Year's doesn't mean you need to walk into a gym, right?
Yeah.
But if you are going to start, this is where your mindset should be. What would that look like?
Like if you were just going to start and you didn't want to go to a gym, I would say just start by doing some sort of like outdoor activity, like whether it's walking, anything just to kind of get you going, and then building small steps into it. A lot of people get the notion that they need to start off in a gym before working with a trainer, which is false. Like I would always suggest work with a trainer first before going on your own. Because you don't want to get hurt. Because then you get hurt and then you shut down, and then it's worse than when you first started.
You don't need to just go pick up the dumbbells, right?
Like don't just start, and don't follow everything you see online, because everything online is catered not to a certain individual. Like they're not catered to one person doing something completely different than, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's hard to go off of online stuff, and a lot of people do that, which is, I mean, to each their own. But I would always suggest to people is like, go see a trainer. There's thousands of trainers out there that will give a free complimentary session just to try it out. learn from it, and then go from there.
Yeah.
And that's what I always tell people is like, I even tell people who come into my gym, try out multiple trainers before committing to me. You may like one thing about me, but somebody else may explain something to you a little bit more differently than I will, and you might click with that better. So I always tell people kind of branch out. Like trainers will give you a complimentary session.
Yeah.
And take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Essentially, you could do 5-6 sessions for free if you really think about it, from 5-6 different trainers, different methods of training, and take advantage of that. Especially if you're going to start, like, before you really commit to somebody or something, work with a professional.
Cool.
Yeah.
Appreciate you coming out and spending some time with us. This was awesome. So
this was great.
Hopefully do it again when we can get some more time together, and love to dive into that horse world a little bit more. But this is awesome, Jay. Thanks for coming out.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me.
Cool.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.